Hello, and welcome to episode 203 of Pros.
This week, we continue the last couple weeks' themed packaging, the focus this week being speculating about the world of tomorrow, with a galactic offer that is bound to make anyone happy, and a recounting of the power of democracy and death through the lens of a futuristic traffic accident. As always, I would love for listeners to come join Pros via social media, all platforms being under the same name, at Pros Podcast. Also, the best way to really help the show is by leaving a rating and or review at Apple Podcasts or any other podcast service. Ratings and reviews are what help others find this podcast. For easiest access to the show, subscribe using Apple Podcasts/iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever podcast catcher is your favorite. Thanks for listening. Let's get to the tale, shall we? This week we have Borrow My Bliss and the Neon Halo. Enjoy. Borrow My Bliss, an original short story by Jared I. McGee. That's right, Janice. The 7 sessions down at Borrow My Bliss package is down to just 100 units. That is a saving of almost 1,000 units, marked from the original service price. Thanks for calling in to clarify. For those of you just now joining us, you've entered into this Neurocast at just the right time. Okay, nation, if you are feeling down, if you are feeling blue, if your Soma Chai lattes aren't working like they used to, this is the deal for you. Borrow My Bliss is, of course, the cutting edge in direct access surrogate emototherapy. Just as easily as you have neuroed into our little sale, you can have all those feelings of despair, loss, self-harm, general saddy-waddies go right out the window. By simply purchasing the package, you will be given 7 sessions of Borrow My Bliss's finest direct access surrogate emototherapy. This is the finest emotion replacement you can buy, and you don't even have to leave your home or unjack from AxioCast. Now, 1,000 credits off sounds too good to be true, am I right? So how in the nebula did we possibly get the finest direct access surrogate emototherapy down by a full 1,000 units? That might just be the most exciting part. The most recent breakthroughs in cognitive interface and neurocastable cerebral rewrites at University of Deimos, Mars side, have completely revised what we know about direct access surrogate emototherapeutic approaches and how to apply them. Originally deemed classified by our loving and protective magistry, the research has recently been released to the public sector, as our dear magistrates want nothing but love and kindness and feelings of worth to flourish amid we, imperial citizens of the nation. Borrow My Bliss is the exclusive purveyor of these new, cutting-edge techniques, so the price is locked in thanks to the powerful, the caring magistry. These advances have made the therapies easier to access, in both price and number of appointments, far more potent, and even a skosh or two safer than the older, now outdated processes. A win-win-win! This all sounds amazing, right? Well, I know what is holding you back from blinking your credit shift our way for your 7 sessions of Borrow My Bliss's finest direct access surrogate emototherapy. Cost. It's always cost. Even with 1,000 credits saved, 1,000. 100 credits still seems a bit steep for your monthly allowance. I get it. I get it. Firstly, let me just say that this is worth it Just flat out. Treat yourself, sure, but spend those credits to change your life. And, as if that weren't enough to push any of you nervous Nellies over the edge on this, for now, exclusive deal through AxioCast, we have a real-life Borrow My Bliss direct access surrogate emototherapist live with us this morning for a quick look into his life and this therapy. Shinar, are you there?
Hello, Jen Stafine. Hello, AxioCast listeners. Hail the Galactic Magistry. Hail the Galactic Fleet. My name is Shinar Dwarnkin, and I hail from Red Lake on the Martian homeworld. I hold a magisterial certificate masterate in emotosurrogacy from Phobos University and have been licensed to practice for 5 Universal Standard TF or Terra Firma years now. As alluded to, this direct access surrogate emototherapy is like nothing you have ever heard of before. My job is to ensure that you have the happiest experiences of your life. Here's how it works. Just like always in emotosurrogacy, I will have a neural uplink into Borrow My Bliss's system. This system has been specifically redesigned to mine even deeper into my own memories of happiness, love, and self-worth, ensuring only the best basal human emotion of joy is coming to you down the neural connection. After mining my emotions, the patented collection system maps and draws from the electrical impulses in my brain while simultaneously pumping them into yours, all while simultaneously stimulating those same places in yours, all while putting your thalamus, hypothalamus, and pituitary glands, as well as other producers of neurotransmitters and fun chemical cocktails, into overdrive. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. You'll be positively drowning in it while you live my own best, happiest memories put through your own consciousness lens, the machine tailoring them to each individual Borrow My Bliss customer and their own experiences.
And Shinar?
Yes.
This is all safe and ready to go for your average everyday AxioCast customer, right?
Oh, why Yanquist knows it, yes. Previous direct access surrogate emototherapeutic approaches were not so strictly regulated by the Magistry, so they got a bad rap from bad purveyors. These rogue therapy firms and therapists have been dealt with, and the new technologies are relatively well tested. All the rumors and accusations and bad gossip marring the good people of the direct access surrogate emototherapeutic community should be ignored. The Magistry assures all customers that the new practices are safe and to be encouraged for others to experience the type of happiness I once had before mining it out to people. In truth, the only downside to the newer, sleeker approach is that we surrogates are mined dry for our own happiness in order to let you all borrow our bliss. I miss being able to recall memories of my mother, my father, the foods they used to make me. You know, my mother used to...
Well, thank you so very much, Shinar. Looks like he had to go real quickly. Too bad. Such a great guy, such a great, wonderful treat to have him here on the show. How kind it was for Borrow My Bliss to send Shinar down to use for a little bit of a cameo this morning. Wasn't that kind, citizens? Just to remind you, count 'em, 7 sessions of Borrow My Bliss's finest direct access surrogate emototherapy guaranteed to ramp up your happiness levels, well beyond any of those overpriced dopasynth injections, and 100% safe and legal with the Magistry's seal of approval. You don't even have to unjack for this upper, folks. Alrighty, Roo. As you can tell, I love this deal, and I could talk forever about it. And about just how insane someone has to be not to transfer the units right now to take advantage of this offer in AxioCast's always free, patented fast as light beam-to-home delivery service. But time is wearing thin for us here on AxioCast. For those still interested in getting 7 sessions of Borrow My Bliss's finest direct access surrogate emototherapy, please don't hesitate to transfer those credits right now or Neuro into a personal interface with one of AxioCast's account specialists to help you finalize your order. But it is time for us to move on to our next product. Back again by very popular demand, we have our Fire Emerald cufflinks and a matching earring set to boot. Even better of a deal than the last time around, thanks to the recent liberation of Arcan 7 and their overflowing minds. As the Neurocast continues, we will be sure to update you on just how many Borrow My Bliss packages are left at this rate, so you don't miss out on this phenomenal, life-altering opportunity for real, true, momentary happiness. Now for a quick break for our check-in with and from the Galactic Magistry and the Galactic Fleet, and we'll move on to those Fire Emeralds.
The Galactic Magistry and the Galactic Fleet approve of this Neurocast. Please shop soundly, knowing we are looking over you, and the quality of all products offered on AxioCast. Hail the Magistry. Hail the Fleet.
Please note that Borrow Your Bliss and AxioCast are not responsible for suicide, self-harm, or any other actions coming from or of this type of therapy. Additionally, please note that your host's accent is precisely what it was before. Your host is the same man. Your host has not been changed. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Borrow My Bliss, an original short story by me, Jared I. McGee. All noises and musical tracks in the background of the story are from freesound.org. The sounds and musical tracks are being used under CC 0.1.0 Universal Public Domain Dedication licenses. Next up this week, stay tuned for Neon Halo, another sci-fi story that looks at what road rage might be like in the 25th century. See you there. The Neon Halo, a short story by Jared I. McGee. Regret. It's never been an emotion that I embraced. It seems such a waste to me. Looking into the past and desperately thirsting for a means to change that which is unchangeable is exhausting. The past is cast in stone. One can only study that which has been etched upon that stone. Absurdity to want to recast that permanence. But my feelings have changed over the past 30 days. I, Babaz Faridi, have come to understand and fully endorse regret. Though I did not know it at the time, this shift in who I am began on a normal Thursday night, leaving work at the Commissar's registry. The day was utterly unremarkable, as are most Thursdays in most adults' lives. I had registered my fair share of new product ideas, concept revisions, and political speech requests over the course of my 9-hour day, and I was more than ready to go home. Watch the mandatory telecast. I was still far too poor to be able to afford the fancy new neurocasting equipment. Listen to some commissarially approved music, lie back, and just plain relax. I jumped in my personal transport and began my 2-hour commute home. And yes, I know that the Commissar's proclamation on civil engineering integrity states that no commute can or will be over 90 minutes in one's personal transport, but, well, I just know that my own commute defies that proclamation. By all means, I am one damn loyal commissariant. But again, my long days at work do indeed end with a 2-hour trek back to my commissarially granted couple's residence. For a good long while, I had thought that maybe Jason and I would be having a child, meaning we'd move even closer to the urban center with all of its perks for those procreating for the budding nation. However, Our petition for procreation has not received the appropriate approvals, even though we have filed and refiled on at least 4 separate occasions over the last half-decade. Jason and I must continue to be patient and trust in the Commissar's Registry's Procreation Regulation Department to make the correct decisions for the people in general and for us in particular. At any rate, there you have it. My commute that Thursday night was to be 2 hours long, and that continued commute would never cease to be the way of things until I got that damned crimson stamp on my petition. Rather than drive to music or news from the continued war front, the latter a daunting prospect after an intensely monotonous Thursday at work, I opted to drive in silence and defy the poster messages and email mailing campaign and the flashing neon on the dirigible surveillance ships, and just allow myself to get lost in my own thoughts. Daydreaming. It was a dangerous pastime, but I needed to escape into myself that day. Somewhere along the commute, roughly 50 minutes in according to my drive time log clock, another registered personnel transport clipped the side of my personal transport once, twice, sending the 2 vehicles into the shoulder of the Commissar's way. We both jostled and fought to control our transports, trying not to cause further harm to other commuters, one another, or ourselves. We both adeptly stopped that growing emergency rather quickly, and I was ready to get out, scan his ID, and move along our day, him being contacted by the Inquisitors about the incident later. It's not like there aren't surveillance devices everywhere. This man was in full view of everyone. At least, full view of everyone that had anything to do with civil governance of the capital of the Commissariat, which was a great many. So, my surprise was immeasurable when, after the skidding and sliding and eventual screeching to a halt, he shifted back into forward motion and began to pull away back onto the Commissar's way. I had never once ever used my neon halo. Not in any situation, most especially in something as small scale as a transport incident. But I was heated, and I just deployed it, flipping up the top of my directional shift and clicking hard down on the button. The automated AI immediately responded. Mr. Babaz Faridi, please confirm that you wish to deploy your neon halo after a resultant incident with driver Ferenc Maudi, driver D567C9871. I replied in the affirmative, the AI responding inhumanly quick again. Thank you for your honesty and your service to the Commissariat through your decisive action, Mr. Babaz Faridi. Please be prepared for neuroscan testimony in the next 120 hours. I smiled grimly as the offending driver, Mr. Ferenc Maudi apparently, driver D567C9871's car lit up with a searing red neon ring around it, and made the initial jerky override motion of the Commissar's nationwide AI taking over from the human operator. Other commuters whizzed by with wide eyes, gaping mouths, and applauding hands, them being so excited for an enemy of the people's peace to be ringed in the neon halo that they put their transports on the rather expensive automated setting. They had to clap after all. My own celebratory mood lasted all of 15 minutes. 65 minutes into my commute, according to my drive time log clock. I had just killed a man. I had just killed Mr. Ferenc Maudi. And for what? A few dings to a stupid, shoddy personal transport that I'd been begging the registry to upgrade for me for at least as long as I've been trying for a child with Jason. He had broken the law and caused danger to the people, a capital offense. Had I not reported it, the surveillance squads would have fined Maudi and I heavily for not stopping and reporting the incident, not providing official narratives for the court archives, not being citizens following the rules, to be simple. And maybe it could have even been worse. I'd followed the rules. Like all offenses, be they transport or other infractions, Mr. Ferenz Maudi would have a vote of and by the people as to what his penalty should be. And that penalty, as it always was for someone defying the peace, tranquility, and safety of the people of the Commissariat, would be death. My stomach roiled at what the next 3 to 5 days would bring. That night, Maudi would be taken to the Inquisitor's fortified question house. His personal transport would be impounded to be given a once-over for evidence. Then, it would be reallocated to another up-and-coming citizen. Tomorrow night, after his questioners had ringed him for information, and the surveillance squad had sought to reconcile all of that information, they would call me. Because I don't have a neurocast. The AI would have already given the surveillance squad my commute information via mobile upload, but they would still speak to me for the general 10 minutes, getting my side of the story in my own words too. No more than 2 nights after the incident, all of the audio and video channels of the Commissariat would begin advertising the coming vote regarding the case of Mr. Ferenz Maudi. Most likely, my name would be mentioned too. Something like,
"The citizen hero, Babaz Faridi, bravely deployed the neon halo to ensure that the Commissar can continue to keep the citizenry happy and safe."
Everyone at the registry would greet me like some demigod upon my return to work the next day. They would all tell me without a doubt that they would vote to expel Maudi from the citizenry, the Commissariat's phrasing for the death penalty. In the beginning, that phrase was true. Citizens were banished back to the front where the mother nation still fought against the expanding Commissariat. But that was a world long gone from us. Exile had stopped being used in the nation 15 years ago. Death was the only punishment for breaches in the people's law. No more than 3 nights after the incident, the vote would be held via neurocast and upload from other personal devices for those, like he and I, that could not yet afford a neurocasting implant or external interface. In 4 nights' time, Mr. Ferenz Maudi, driver D567C9871, would be seated in front of a caster, made to renounce his seditious, dangerous actions, and would be given a shot of the Bisotonium-7 concoction used to execute traitors to the Commissariat and its values in excruciating fashion, causing Maudi to writhe and scream and liquefy from the inside out in real time for the entire Commissariat to see. On its face, all of this was just, of course. The people vote the verdict, the punishment. It is true democracy in action. No judge is overriding anything. If the people chose to let Maudi off as innocent or punish him with a fine rather than death, the Inquisitors, the surveillance squad, the registry, even the Commissar himself would not rise up to overturn the findings. But they didn't have to. The people never did such things. Death. It was always death. In my informed adult life, I have never seen my fellow citizens choose any option but to kill their own. Savagery through civilization. Civilized savagery. These were the concepts and phrasings that danced through my head as my stomach continued to roil. Not for the first time, I thought on what might happen if I employed the neon halo on myself. Would it cause a shutdown to the system? Would it demonstrate the possibility for mistakes, highlight loopholes, the way the process worked? Probably not. They'd go about making their case against me just like any other case that comes their way. I'd end up dead. Jason would end up all alone, a widow. The Commissariat would move on, unblinking. Not for the last time, I thought on the side of Mr. Ferenz Maudi, driver D567C9871, melting out as he screamed, and what were his insides began leaking out of his nostrils, eyes, and ear holes. I thought on what this meant for me, for who and what I was, what I am, what I will be. For the first time, I got to hug my wife and show her the gorgeous stylized crimson phoenix seal with gold leaf flecks on her petition to procreate. I saw her weep for joy and declare how perfect our new life together would be. Apparently, my heroism convinced those in power that Jason and I, the patriot hero and his wife, were great candidates for offspring that would serve the commissariat well after all. Not for the last time, I wondered if Jason might let me name a little one for ends. In my mind, that seemed only fair. Life for a life after all. Not for the last time. I watched a personal transport drive by my little home, ringed in the fiery red of the neon halo, and I wept.
Thank you for listening to The Neon Halo, an original short story by me, Jared I. McGee. The first musical track in the background of this story comes from freemusicarchive.org and is by artist Rest You Sleeping Giant. The title of the track is Light Lab and comes from their album of the same name, Light Lab. The track is being used under an Attribution 4.0 International CC BY 4.0 license. All other sounds you hear come from freesound.org and are being used under CC0 1.0 Universal Public Domain Dedication licenses. That does it this week for Prose. I hope that you are enjoying our continued forays into the darkness and into the speculative worlds of tomorrow. Until next time, I hope that you'll remember to love those around you, tell them that you do, and embrace this life as it is always stranger than fiction. Thank you so much for listening.